Hello and welcome to Friday's Fireside Chat. Happy Friday to everybody. It's been a busy week over here at Cephalo Fair for sure, um, but I hope your week's been going well. Our week's been going well too. We were able to cross that funding goal today, this morning, so that was exciting to see. We got a long way to go still. So, yeah, we're happy to get across that first hump and see where the rest of this campaign can take us. Um, yeah, it was kind of funny. I was just remembering it was maybe not even 24 hours before the campaign launched, or maybe it was a little earlier than that. Um, like Price came to me and was like, "So we need to come up with a funding goal for this." And I was like, I don't know, do we even need a funding goal? Kind of jokingly, right? Just like, I bet if we went to BackerKit and we're like, we're not doing a funding goal, they would get behind it. But also, like, it was within the last 24 hours, so that was probably a bad idea. So no, we did the responsible thing, and Price had already like gone through and made a bunch of spreadsheets and like just was basically wanting me to confirm the $2 million stretch goal, and then I gave him a heart attack at the last minute just for the fun of it because that's what I do sometimes. No, I'm I try to be as nice to Price as possible because Price is a wonderful person. But anyway, uh, yeah. So we hit our responsible $2 million goal, which some people said was a bit high, but it was just because like we have so many things, right? I mean, we gotta get enough money to get like all these things off the ground. So happy to be able to do that now and bring them all to you. And my child is now coming along to press some buttons. Ooh, maybe close some windows. That would be bad. Hello, how are you doing? Would you like to join us in this fireside chat? You gotta stay calm and not press any buttons on the keyboard. That's your goal. Um, yeah. So how is everyone else doing around here? What else do I have to talk about? Yeah. So yeah, because last time we had one of these things was on Tuesday, and certainly a lot's happened since then. We've got puzzles on the page now, which was one of my favorite parts of the Frosthaven campaign, and I think the puzzles we got are also very entertaining. I didn't design any of them this time. I tasked Dennis and Drew and some of the playtesters with doing that. And oh, we got a raid from Silver Metal Tavern. That's cool. How's everybody doing over there? Were you playing some Gloomhaven? Did you win? Oh yeah. Sorry. Well, yeah. I forgot what I was talking about. Puzzles. Puzzles are great. Nothing wrong with puzzles. More puzzles, the better. And um, and yeah, we had a lot of streams going on. More of the RPG, and uh, and yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch upon all the streams that are gonna be going over on this weekend. Because that's gonna be fun. Oh, Silver Medal Tavern just finished number 39 and won. That's awesome. Um, is it embarrassing if I tell you that I designed Gloomhaven so long ago that I don't remember what scenario 39 is? That's embarrassing, right? I should know by heart, like my friend Drew, what all the scenario numbers are. Um, if I had to guess what scenario 30, uh-oh, we're about to lose our mic. Uh-oh. Nope. There we go. Okay, we got it back. If I had to guess what scenario 39 was, I would say, what would I say? I'm feeling I'm feeling treacherous divide, but that could be totally wrong. Anyway, nobody's going to give me any help, so that's fine too. We'll just sit here and watch him hoist himself on his own petard. Was I right? I was right with treacherous divide? Oh, I have redeemed myself. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so streams this weekend. Let's that was a real stab in the dark. Uh, so yeah, we've got Tabletop Live Network doing some playthroughs of Gloomhaven 2 with Dennis and I believe Silver Metal Tavern is doing one of them. So that's great. Silver Metal Tavern is doing theirs on, I want to say, Saturday. Yes. And then the Brothers Murph are on Sunday. And both of those are going to be at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So definitely check those out. We'll be streaming those on the main page. Yeah. And we've also got a really awesome live role playing game happening at, I believe it's 2. Let's see. At, yeah, 2 uh, Pacific tomorrow. And so this is really exciting for me because this is the first time I will like not be there, not be like in control of a role playing game. Well, actually, we've been running demos at Origins all week, so that's one thing. But yeah, this is going to be a live thing where we've set them up with the rules and all the materials and everything, and they're just gonna go for it, and we're gonna see how it goes. So that's gonna be an exciting watch. It's a great cast. So this is gonna be live at GameCon Canada. And so Jason Acevedo is gonna be the GM for that, and then the players are Luis Carrazzo, Deborah Ann Wool, Nora Ibrahim, and Omega Jones. So some big names in the RPG world, or even just like in the world in general. So I'm really excited to sit down and watch that tomorrow. That's gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, you can see some information on GameCon Canada in the chat. Um, yeah, so those are the big things going on this weekend. And then on Monday, I'm so excited. I need to talk to you about this now too. We've got a Penny Arcade playthrough that's going to go up on Monday of the RPG. Yes, we actually did 2 playthroughs with Penny Arcade, one for Frosthaven and one for the RPG. So those are going to be coming out. Over the course of this campaign. But the first one, the RPG, which I got to play in the RPG. Um, so I was super excited about that. And I think it went really well. I was really happy with how that went. And so I'm excited for you all to see that. Yeah, so that's everything that's going on over the weekends, other than, maybe getting some rest, Price getting some rest, all of us getting a little bit of rest while also still, monitoring the page and making sure it doesn't uh, crash and burn and whatnot. But anyway, I think I've talked by myself long enough. Let us bring on our guest for this fireside chat. I have Dennis with me here right now. Here he is. And his mic is still turned off, just in case he didn't know
Yep, here I am. Hello. Came
that.
well prepared. I put the fire in the background. I'm a little worried because it's running on YouTube, so I'm like, okay, it's running for like 20 minutes. Odds are
When
it's
is some
gonna be like
weird video gonna
a
pop
raw
up
ad
after it? Yeah.
or all paid ad. And I also am wearing my sleeping lion shirt, so
Nice.
fully prepared.
Yeah, so you're gonna join me for some Gloomhaven 2 plays tomorrow, right?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. I have to admit that usually during playtesting, I have Drew do all of the monster management, so I'll probably be more focused than usual because I have to make sure the monsters are doing what they're supposed to do.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're
But we'll be
volunteering to
fine.
do that, then
Yeah, we'll
I
figure it
will
out.
I will let you do that. Yeah, we both got fake fires. I think your fire is a little more impressive than mine, though mine
You
is
know,
in an actual fireplace. So I think I
in
get points for
glorious, glorious 4K.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a fireplace downstairs, but my family's down there, so I don't want to bother them by, yeah, trying to do a fake fire in the fireplace.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were just talking about the puzzles, and I have to say, so just by sheer coincidence, the first two puzzles are puzzles that I made because the playtesters made way harder puzzles than I did or than Drew did. So we were like, oh, okay, let's do those second because we were being way more tame than that. So good luck with puzzles in like a week or two. But yeah,
Yeah, the
so
plan was to like do the easy puzzles first and then do the
sure.
later puzzles or the harder puzzles later. So yeah, you can expect the puzzles to get harder over time, kind of.
But
We're
so
just gonna do yeah 6 easy ones for the starting classes and then 6 hard ones for the starting classes.
but yeah, the I screwed up on both of my first two puzzles. So I the first one I tried to set up a little trap where you had to where you think you could skewer, but then you couldn't skewer on turn one, even though the monsters were perfectly lined up. Turned out you could actually skewer on turn one and go to a totally different spot on the map than I'd intended. So, oops, there's two solutions. One of them was not the one I wanted. And then for the puzzle today, I knew those two solutions because Mad Mullet, one of the playtesters, figured out a second solution that was kind of better than mine because it didn't need one of the items I provided. But then it
Oh
turns
yeah.
out there's a third solution because I'd forgotten to mention that you're not supposed to ditch cards in your discard pile to avoid damage. I thought
Yeah,
if
I
I
mean, I
say, hey,
just
you have one
assumed
health,
that was a
pretty
feature.
obvious you're not supposed to get hit. But turns out, no, everyone was like, well, I've got 6 cards in the discard pile, so I can get hit anyway.
Yeah, so many cards.
That's
You just get rid of them
my
all.
bad. Anyway, so there's different tiers of difficulty. There's the taking damage version, then there's my version, and then there's you don't need wing boots version. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's all intentional. It's 3 puzzles in one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's a good puzzle right there that has tiers of difficulty to it. You did a good job.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't have to design them, so I'm even happier about the
It
puzzles.
is funny though, I didn't because I hadn't made these Gloomhaven puzzles for the last one, right? And it is funny. It didn't occur to me that the hardest part of making these is just trying to find all the wrong solutions that end up working, right? So you make it and you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. You got to do this little thing and that little thing, and then you're like, well, I got to make sure there's no other solution. And each time I'm sitting there for 20 minutes testing around, I'm like, okay, I think it's good. And then one of the playtesters says, no, you can do this way, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
experienced
anyway,
that a lot too. Um, yeah, it's
yeah.
just I think it's fine either way.
Yeah,
It's just
it's good. They're intentionally easy. See, we don't screw up. We just did
right,
things
as long as you don't
intentionally.
make it impossible, right? That's
Right.
that's the bad. I
That
might
is
have done
worse.
that once in Frosthaven, I can't remember. And I had to be like, "Oh wait, nope, yeah, I got to move that around. Sorry, here's the new puzzle."
But yeah. Anyway, I think today's was slightly harder than the first one, so I hope people enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean the first one was pretty easy and this one required a fair amount of thinking, especially to yeah, get the version where you don't get hit.
Anyway, so yeah, it's been an exciting week. I've never been part of one of these crowdfunding things, so I've always been on the other side where I just hit the couple buttons on day one and then I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
I just yeah,
Well, I mean, you were campaigning heavily for the lurkers to win the poll during
that is
the
true. Day one of
during
the Frosthaven campaign, I made lots of lurker poetry.
yeah. So that's some participation.
That's true. That's true.
But yes, not like this where you have designed one of the games that we are
My
selling.
biggest regret about doing this project as opposed to a different, Gloom project is that we weren't allowed to make any lurker classes.
Fair
It's
enough.
not available to us.
Yes, the great tragedy of our time is there's
Yeah.
not enough lurkers.
Well, the future is bright.
Yes, the
So
future can rectify that in numerous ways.
yeah, I'm just seeing this question. If you want to ask questions about Gloomhaven, now's the time. Gloomhaven 2E
Yeah.
question: did we change any classes significantly? We
Yes.
changed quite a few classes significantly. I think 3 of them are quite obvious because 3 of them everyone kind of knew going in. Okay, these 3 classes everyone kind of agrees are the most overpowered classes, so they kind of need some pretty significant changes to kind of rein that in.
Yeah.
And so all 3 of those got pretty significant changes, although I still feel that the DNA of 2 of those classes is still where it was before, whereas the Eclipse
Yeah.
class, which everyone knew was just kind of crazy, that one is totally different. It plays very differently. And then there's one other class that got completely reworked. There it was not so much because it was overpowered. It wasn't that. This was the Squid Face. Squid Face class got complete rework, and the reason for that is more thematic. I'd have to get into a lot of details, I guess, to explain it, and I don't think we want to go into that level of detail here right now. But basically, the class kind of didn't fully fulfill the theme we wanted for it, so we kind of went in a slightly different direction. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
it turned out really fun. So
Yeah, but it's interesting, right? Because I would consider lightning bolts. I mean, not like to be on the extreme of those other three that you're talking about, but like
Hmm.
to be fairly overpowered. And the solution there was just like essentially cut out one card from their hand size, right?
Yeah, it was very funny because we were well. But the other thing is, of course, our goal in second edition is not to cut out things that people like, right? I mean, we're
Yeah,
not saying, oh, people think this is fun, let's remove this. I mean, a lot of people didn't really think that the way Eclipse affects the gameplay in the long term is particularly fun. It's kind of fun to figure out the
yeah,
puzzle, and then once you figure it out, it's kind of not super fun for everyone anymore. So that's something we were happy to change. Whereas Lightning Bolt, everyone loves lightning bolts. It's
yeah.
one of the most popular classes, and so why would we? We wouldn't want to change the core mechanics of it. And there's nothing wrong with the core mechanics of it, but it was a very funny conversation. Drew and I met up that morning and said, okay, today we're working on lightning bolts. And we started looking, and we're like, okay, yeah, that's a little problematic. Okay, that one's a little problematic too. Oh, that one's probably going to need some changes. And after going back and forth and discussing it and everything, eventually I just said, why don't we just cut a card? And Drew was like, huh, yeah, that's a good idea. And so going from that sort of that thought of, okay, how can we rebalance this in such a way that that works? Yeah, that made it a lot simpler ultimately in terms of the total number of changes needed, because it kind of also really plays into themes of that class to be sort of totally on the edge all the time. So
Yeah.
having
So
fewer
fewer
cards also
card
just
buffer.
plays well with it. But specifically, I guess, why does the card thing matter? So from a design perspective, we find it quite important to have a mix of hand sizes, not just to say, oh, it's cool to have different hand sizes, but it's very it helps a lot with the flow of a scenario. You don't want too many classes to have 10 or 11 cards, because then they all rest at the same time. So if the rest cycles sync up too much, it kind of predetermines a lot of how the scenarios often play. You'll end up kind of going through your first rest cycle in the first room. You've killed all the enemies. Now you can all long rest at the same time, move into the second room. So having a couple 9-card classes and 12-card classes, or even an 8-card class like Spellweaver, really helps make sure that not everyone's resting at the same time all the time. So as we had to change some other hand sizes, right? Some classes that had 9 cards before had to be changed to having more cards. So therefore, we had to also find
Yeah.
ways to balance that out in the other direction.
Yeah, I think that was Qualdrion's question, was if any of the classes ended up with more cards, which, yeah, the answer
Correct.
is
One of the
yes.
classes did end with more cards. I'm pretty sure I'll be playing that class either tomorrow or on Sunday stream. So you'll see that very soon. Um, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them, didn't they? Or at least two, right? There were
Yeah.
nine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Definitely some changes in that direction. Yeah. Yeah. Some went up, some went down. Things changed. But yeah, so in addition, see, because when originally in the original stream I said, oh, I don't know, like 5-ish classes got majorly overhauled, and it's really just a question of definition, right? So there's the 4 that are just like
Yeah.
very clearly this is a totally different thing, but there are several others that I think you can definitely see the DNA of the original class, but it still feels very significantly different. So I don't know, it's just kind of up to you. Once you see the classes, it's up to you to decide what degree you put them on. When we started the design for Gloomhaven 2, one of the first things we did actually is make a spreadsheet of all the classes and say, okay, let's estimate how much changes each class needs. So we sort of categorize them in between 1 and 3. So like a 1 is a class where we're like, okay, we're rebalancing some things, we're going to move actions around, to make the pairings on each card a little better and things. But ultimately, the class should feel very much like you kind of remember it. And a lot of the starters are a bit like that, right? Kragart doesn't feel
Yeah.
vastly different. It's still kind of doing what Kragart does. And then there's the 2s, which is more like maybe a certain aspect of the class, right? A certain build or a certain feature of the class got changed pretty significantly. So it's still the old class, but it's pretty majorly changed. And then there's the 3s, which are the total reworks. So that was a useful exercise.
Yeah. I remember going through all that with you, you kind of sending me all that data and being like, these are the ones we want to change a lot. These are the ones we don't want to change a lot. And I was like, sounds good.
Yeah, well, Squid Face was kind of a later decision, but yeah, that was
Yeah.
the one that still needed more changes in the end than we expected. Although it was not the most difficult class. I think I've already spoiled the secret, but the most difficult class to redesign was Spellweaver.
Right.
Spellweaver was the worst. I will never design a Spellweaver again. Yeah, that one was a real doozy. So it started out with in the original, you had melee abilities and ranged abilities, and so we said, okay, let's make the melee Spellweaver thing work. It's super cool. It's fun to do, but it had a number of issues. So the first full reiteration of Spellweaver we presented to the playtesters had a sort of a more of a melee build and more of a ranged build. And so the issue there was that to balance those things out, the melee build did, a lot of damage, right? It had to significantly outdamage the range build because the risk is so high. You have 6 health, you have fairly few defensive tools. So you're very much a glass cannon at that point, right? And so
Yeah.
this was bad because the experienced players just murdered everything and were way too good with it. And it's also a huge trap for new players because this is meant to be this like low complexity starting class. And it's really telling you, hey, look at these big numbers. You should take these melee cards, except you really shouldn't if you are new to the game.
Yeah.
So that iteration didn't work out. Did you play test that one at all? I don't remember if you got a chance to play that one.
No, I don't think so. I don't remember a powerful melee spellweaver.
Yeah, powerful melee spellweaver was a fun time. And then the other issue with powerful melee spellweaver is that it, of course, led to very linear builds, right? As you leveled up, it's like, well, do I take the ranged card or the melee card? Well, I've already committed to the ranged thing, so I'm taking the ranged card, which is
Yeah.
okay sometimes, but we prefer to have the builds feel like they can intermix a little more than that.
Yeah.
So that was the first iteration that then got canned after a long time. And then we had a whole second iteration, which was using different elements in different ways and trying to make sort of fire and ice the strong elements, but harder to get. And then you have easier to get elements that aren't as valuable and all that. And we played around with it. And at the end of the day, it was mechanically, like balance wise, it was fine. But the playtesters just kind of said, this isn't Spellweaver, right? Like you're a Spellweaver that's making more light than ice and fire. So that's not really what we want. And I think that's fair. So that one got canned as well, and then we finally got to the real Spellweaver, which we have now, which I think is the best of the 3 iterations. So I'm glad. I'm glad we put the extra work in.
Yeah, I think it works really smoothly now, and the element generation and consumption is interesting, a fine line to walk.
Yeah, designing the starters is tough. I feel like we really didn't want to increase complexity too much overall. As just a general, that was a huge goal of ours, is to not say, okay, we're redoing Frosthaven, right? We're making Frosthaven 2.0 or whatever. We're making Gloomhaven 2.0, aka Frosthaven 2. That was not the intent. We really wanted to keep the complexity at an appropriate level so that you feel like this is a different animal than Frosthaven is. So it's very easy to go in and redesign classes and say, let's just fix all the problems by making them more complex and adding a ton of special rules. So we try to avoid that where possible. And Spellweaver budget for complexity was low, and a lot of things that needed to be covered. So
yeah.
What do you feel was the hardest class for you to design originally?
The hardest class to design originally? I don't know. So long ago.
Fair enough. I mean, just figured I'd ask.
I mean, I could probably talk about like Frosthaven, and I guess both Prism and Drill were pretty up there in terms of like we got to get this to work, and I'm not sure.
Oh, you cut out. Baby aggro.
All right.
There you are.
The baby turned off the microphone.
Dude, every time I'm working in the living room, the baby comes up and I'm like, don't touch the keyboard. And the baby's like, yep, I'm touching the keyboard. That's the first thing I'm going to do.
You want to go get that?
Will Frosthaven characters work in Gloomhaven 2? They absolutely will. I mean, one of the big reasons to do Gloomhaven 2 is to say, hey, we have a baseline that is consistent and we can use any class from any of the games in any of the other games, right? So the idea is that the Gloomhaven 2 classes are balanced equally to the Frosthaven classes, and so they work very well in each other's games.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see if we can answer some more questions. Somebody was asking about, I don't know. Why can't I scroll this? It's getting all weird on me.
Does Gloomhaven Second Edition have a significant change in its history compared to First Edition? Does that mean history?
Oh yeah, that's what I was
narrative.
Looking at. Yeah, I think
the
so.
Narrative
has
been totally rewritten.
So yeah, basically, we tried to like keep the narrative beats the same as the original. Like it's the same story. It's just kind of told in a more full way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. It takes things that were sort of not fully explored originally, and fleshes them out, gives them more detail. I think the most obvious things, of course, the factions, because the faction conflict is sort of this main driving force of the story. We gave that a lot more attention, and so in order to make it feel like your faction decisions and who do you want to support and what decisions do you make in events and all that stuff, so to make that really matter, we the the writing team, the satire team, really fleshed out what each of the factions is, and therefore, gives it a lot more detail.
Yeah. Yeah, people asking about digital updates, but yeah, that's up to Twin Sales to see what they do on that. We're just don't have any say in that. Yes. Oh, yes. And I forgot to talk about in my chat before I brought Dennis on was that another big bit of news is that we are going to include Forgotten Circles in this campaign. It is now available as an add-on. Forgotten Circles being the expansion to the original Gloomhaven. Yeah, enough people were asking, and because it is out of print right now, and so we thought, yeah, we should probably reprint it because it's out of print, and it seems like be good to coincide that with this campaign. So yeah, we've added that, and that's exciting. Also asking about update on shipping prices. Yeah, we are still working on shipping. Yeah, there's just a lot to get done this week, so we're still working on it, but you can expect more of that to get updated next week, hopefully. And got more babies. The baby has questions. What's your question? No, unfortunately, your toys are not compatible with Gloomhaven. You have to play with your toys
Yeah,
and
Forgotten
not
Circles.
Gloomhaven.
I've seen a couple of people ask, not in this chat, but just over the last few days, oh, why didn't you just integrate that into Gloomhaven 2? And I think the main
Yeah.
answer to that is just Gloomhaven 2 is already a little bigger than Gloomhaven 1 was, right? There's more scenarios. There's two additional tuck boxes in the game box and so forth. So there's already more, and obviously we're not trying to blow up this huge box even more.
Yeah.
Price was very strict with us, saying don't add stuff, right? And so we negotiated and we got to add some new stuff, but we tried to keep it sort of component limited. So there's new systems and mechanics and things, but we didn't
Right.
want those systems to be very component heavy to make this giant box even bigger. I'm not trying to make Frosthaven. That's the bigger box.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, it was just more of a component limit issue, I think. And I mean, yeah. Well, let's see. There was another question.
yeah, well,
Oh, yeah, somebody was asking about a Frosthaven Focus Minis pack. So, like, being able to get just the Frosthaven Minis. So, that is something we're looking into. So, yeah, we're working on it. We're seeing if the numbers work out. Basically, like, it's going to require splitting up different SKUs into different things. And when you're just dealing with that many miniatures, um, with those molds and how they all get printed at the factory, it's a lot of logistics to figure out whether that's and whether we can figure that out without delaying um you know the delivery even further. So we're looking into it, and hopefully we'll figure it out. Yeah.
making prices life hard.
Yeah, we don't want to make prices life hard.
Uh,
This is already a logistical nightmare.
it's a
And
lot.
let's see. Oh, high estimate of shipping prices. So I mean, yeah, those estimates are yeah, pretty much what we expect them to be. So I would say they're pretty accurate, though. Yeah, at the end of the day, they could change, but yeah, I mean the yeah, I don't know. The reality of the situation is like we're shipping big boxes, and shipping just isn't as cheap as it was in the past, and so I would love to charge you less for shipping, but it's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, at one point during the pandemic, shipping was up 450%, I think. Shipping
Yeah,
container from China to here was up 4.5 times.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
not fun.
that's not fun. Anyway,
Will the diviner come to the RPG eventually? So yeah, a lot of people ask about Forgotten Circles or Frosthaven in terms of the RPG, and our plan is to continue to support the RPG going into the future, right? So yeah, we'd love to bring in more modules for like Frosthaven and Frosthaven classes, Jaws of the Lion classes. Yeah, we want to bring in the Aesters as we kind of like explore the different planes that are available in the universe. And so yeah, we'd probably bring in the diviner at that point. So like yeah, we have plans to do all that, but initially, yeah, the RPG book is focused on Gloomhaven and kind of the surrounding area of Gloomhaven. I mean, we are going to kind of in the lore section kind of cover the whole world in a more general sense, so you will get, some amount of descriptions and maps of like all the various important regions of the world, and then we'll kind of from there focus in on Gloomhaven and give you like a lot of detail on the city itself and the surrounding wilds, and then obviously all the character classes and ancestries that are available there, except for Aesthers, because yeah, we just it was kind of a tough nut to crack with the Aesthers, and we figured that's best to just wait for future product for that, because yeah, Aesthers are pretty powerful, like in an RP sense, where they can just kind of go back and forth between planes and kind of do whatever they want to. I mean, if you've interacted with Hail, you can kind of see how that goes.
Gonna see a lot of hail
Yeah.
in Gloomhaven Second Edition. She is
Yeah,
quite
that's
center
good.
stage there. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember, yeah, looking. I think I had some hand in making sure that Hale's personality came through on the new draft.
It was funny. I think the draft notes, I saw once of the draft notes of the narrative. Again, I didn't do any narrative writing, but I saw the
Yeah.
comment was Hale is not being rude enough to the party.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, the Hale thing is interesting, right? So one of the goals, or another thing that differentiates Gloomhaven a little more from Frosthaven is that it's more of a sandbox, because in Frosthaven you have not a linear story, but you have sort of story lines that you're following down that are kind of needed in order to tell this whole story and get to the end. And you had said, when we met with you originally on the Gloomhaven 2 project, you had said that that's something that's really important to you about Gloomhaven, that it feels like a real sandbox. And so with that in mind, we really try to structure it in such a way that there's very few things you have to do, right? There's sort of the very
Yeah,
short beginning few scenarios, and then there's the end game, but there's different ways to get to that end game, and what you do in between and don't do is kind of up to you. And so because of that, having a sort of a central character like Hale is quite useful, right? Because who knows who else you meet? You could avoid meeting some people entirely.
right.
So
But yeah, you have to talk to Hale. So she's
got to
kind of
talk to Hale.
the central figure now. Let's see. Somebody asked, or if Frosthaven will be touched on in the lore for the RPG. And yeah, so it is a significant part of the world, so the Northern Wastes. So yeah, that will be kind of a section in the lore chapter on kind of the larger world. But yeah, we really want to in a future product focus more on Frosthaven and kind of give you a lot more lore on all of that. So
I just want to learn more about the orchids and the orchid society on the eastern continent.
yeah,
That's orchids are my favorite, other than the lurkers, of course. So,
of course, yeah.
um,
Lurkers are cool. I meant to say orchids are cool, but lurkers and orchids are both cool.
well,
Yeah,
orchids are so cool that we have an undead orchid now. So,
that's true. Yeah.
yeah,
How did that come about? So what I remember from that was just like satire, just like messaging me one day, just having like
yeah.
all these weird questions about death. They're like, how does death work in this world? Like, what would
So,
it?
okay, so the way this happened is, we wanted, in going back to Gloomhaven, we wanted to add a couple new things too, right? Not just, rework the old, but also add a couple new things where we felt it was useful. And one of the first things we did is look at the full scenario list and list out how often each monster type appears. And in doing so, it was pretty quickly pretty obvious that in Gloomhaven, there's a lot of undead.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but obviously the merchants have their whole own relationship with the undead. There's a bunch of crypts you go to. There's a lot of scenarios that have to do with undead. And so it pretty quickly became clear, also because of the cultists that summon living bones, you just have a lot of living bones, living corpses, and living spirits in scenarios. So there was sort of some of those were some of the most common enemy types.
yeah,
And so we kind of came to the conclusion that if we're going to add a new monster to the game, the most useful thing to add would be something that plays into the undead side of things. And so we wanted a support monster, because the other three, I mean, the living spirits kind of hang back a little bit, but they're all very damage oriented, and They have slight nuances to them, but they're all kind of pretty similar in that sense. But we wanted something that feels a little different and kind of gives you not a mini boss, that's a little too strong, but kind of breaks up how this a room feels when you enter a room with the undead, that it just kind of plays a little differently. And so in playtesting, or when we first designed this, we just called it a lich, right? We said this is an undead, this is an undead sorcerer, so therefore it's a lich. And so we did that. We play tested with it. We designed all the cards and did all that. And we said, okay, this is cool. I think this is the right direction for this. And fooled around with exactly what it can do and everything. And so eventually we said, okay, cool. I think this is the right thing. So now let's go to Isaac and see if he signs off on it. And he signed off on it. And then we said, well, we need some lore for this. And so we were like, hey, we noticed that there are kind of not enough, or there are more human enemies or whatever than other ancestries for enemies. And so
Yeah.
we changed that around a little bit as well. I don't know, have we talked about that yet? Has that been revealed yet? Anyway, um,
Um. No, well,
no, I guess it
I
is.
don't
It's
think
on the
so
minis
because
list. It's on the minis
the
list.
scopes aren't done. Yeah, I mean, if you really look closely at the miniatures
If you look
for
closely,
Gloomhaven, you'll see some things that you may
yeah.
not recognize because they're from the second edition. So
So
yeah,
we swapped out some human enemies with some other ancestries, and in that
yeah,
process, we were like, there are no orchids. Where are the orchids at? And we said, couldn't we have an undead orchid? And so we said to the writers, we said to the satire team, hey, could you make a cool undead? Like, can you make this lich thing be a cool undead orchid? And so they got writing, and they contacted you about it.
yeah, yeah. So what it is, which I think is kind of cool, is because like part of the lore of the orchids, which I mean you're familiar with, is kind of like there's like a life essence to their crystals. And I guess yeah, I mean a little lore tidbit for you, right? How they procreate is by like people kind of like burying their crystals in the earth, and then a child will like spring up out of that. And so yeah, what we thought would be cool is if like an orchid died, or not even if an orchid died, but usually when an orchid dies, or yeah, what am I trying to say? Like, they will leave some crystals behind. And if those crystals are kind of like in a area of like negative energy, just kind of like a place where like evil spirits might be lurking about, like then their crystals, like with the life energy that's inside of them, could get like kind of consumed by some sort of evil spirit, and then kind of like raise up as like kind of like a negative like core inside of it of like some spirit, but then like sort of surrounded by these orchid crystals. um I didn't explain that probably as well as I could have, but
What you get is a spooky undead orchid that uses
yeah, what
magic.
you get is just yeah, kind of like an evil spirit, like wearing an orchid, like a dead orchid as like its skin, and yeah, being all spooky about it. And so
Yep,
yeah, that's the crystal rot.
that's the
So
crystal rod, and yeah,
it's like
they
crystals with just like rot inside.
and they boost all their undead buddies around them, giving them advantage and hiding on the back line, hoping that you don't kill them. So, well, kill them, re-kill them, or whatever you call killing an undead, smite them. So yeah, that was the brand new enemy type, and then we also, because of course of the renewed focus on demons, because we're fleshing out the whole demon thing, we also requested to add chaos demons, because chaos demons are just
Yeah.
really fun. It's just a really cool enemy type, and we want them to be around more. Um, and there's some other monster changes too. We changed the point values of some monsters. I mean, obviously, black imps already got addressed in Frosthaven. I think black imps were kind of the notoriously sort of I don't know how you'd call it, but their point value didn't quite represent what it should. I think they were counted as
Yeah.
a 0.5, but they were really more like a 0.7 or something.
Yeah.
Um, Certainly my least favorite enemy. Everyone always says, oozes are the worst, but to me, after finishing my Gloomhaven campaign originally, I said, nope, black imps are the worst. So
Yeah,
yeah.
they basically just had like too many hit points, and I tried like compensate that for like just having like low damage, but then they got like poison at higher levels, and it didn't work out very well. So yeah,
They're
they
spooky.
are really more of like a zero point 0.7 enemy in
Yep.
the
And
original
so
Gloomhaven.
yeah, and so we tooled around some other things with the monsters. We changed the point values on some. We replaced the bandit guards with bandit scouts, because there're just a lot of different guard types in the game, and there was only one type of scout. And also having the bandits not loot just felt a little bit. Now that the bandit scout deck got improved, or the scout deck got improved in Frosthaven, so scouts aren't quite as weak as they were before, it felt very appropriate
Yeah,
and thematic to have them run around and steal your loot. So
yeah,
that was a way to help break it up a little bit.
So we got some more questions here. So somebody's asking about third-party content creators creating RPG modules in the Gloomhaven world, and I think that's great. I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. We are still like trying to figure out exactly like the framework that we want for custom content, which is something that we also need to address with Frosthaven as well. Um, and that's going to be one of my major focuses after the end of this crowdfunding campaign is figuring that out. So hopefully by the time the RPG comes out, yeah, there'll be tools in place to do that, and I'm excited how that will play out. Somebody's also asking about if we've been approached about a Gloomhaven reskin with a popular IP like Marvel. So I think I actually did pitch this to a company once who might have had access to the Marvel IP, and it didn't really go anywhere. So I actually like pitched it to them, not like in kind of like a half serious manner. But anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of glad that something like that didn't happen. I don't know. I feel like this might be sacrilegious to say, but I feel like the Marvel IP is kind of like over leveraged at this point.
That's
And
fair.
so, yeah, I'm happy just doing my own thing and not worrying too much about like writing some IP. Yeah, I think we're kind of building our own thing over here, and I'm happy as we continue to grow it. So yeah. Let's see. Any other questions? Have you guys considered a subscription plan or season pass style packages with mini campaigns and characters, or release 2 every 6 months? I don't
I
know. That
mean,
sounds complicated. Uh,
but also, don't we have to
oh,
deal with that enough in the video game space now? Like, do we really want more season
yeah,
passes? I think
yeah.
from a design
Subscriptions get very
perspective,
complicated, especially when you're talking about a physical product, and then you've got to
yeah.
like, yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
I guess for me, more from a design perspective, everything's very holistic, right? You could just churn out two classes and release those every couple months or whatever, but it's kind of more interesting if things are more interconnected, right? So for example,
Oh
you
yeah,
have
for sure.
you have some perks, or you have a class in Gloomhaven Second Edition that has a perk that relates to the reputation system, because that is a core part of that narrative, right? And the way the items interact with the characters is very important. So sometimes we don't only design the characters around the items, but we also design the items around the characters, and so forth. So I feel like you're not just buying classes; you're buying a whole game. Like the whole game is designed around each other. The monsters are balanced around the scenarios, and the scenarios are balanced around the classes, and the classes are balanced around items. So I
Yeah.
think you get a more rich experience if everything is kind of more cohesively designed.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, that was the original concept of Gloomhaven, right? Like, I mean, I understood that I could have like made a smaller game and then like released a bunch of like content for it afterwards, but like it just made more sense. Like what I wanted to do is create like a giant expansive world that people could just kind of like explore like at their own leisure and not feel like I don't know, there are a bunch of like gates in place of like, this is your adventure and now you do this and then this. Yeah, just like a more free form experience, I think is definitely one of the reasons why the game is so popular.
Yeah.
An official scenario builder app. So that's one of the things I was kind of talking about, like with the framework that we're trying to get in place for custom content. Um, I don't know. I can't go into like too much detail because like it's still like very preliminary. But yes, at the end of the day, like I would love to see that sort of stuff, so that people can, even without the access to software like InDesign and stuff, can still like go have a place to go to create, basically whatever they want, and um, then share it with people. So yeah, that's the goal.
So
But it
somebody asked me
requires a
about
lot of work
the
on the back end.
somebody's asking about the class upgrade pack. So yeah, the upgrade pack only contains the classes, and I think that's worth talking about briefly because I saw some comments saying, oh, why didn't you do Gloomhaven Second Edition in such a way that it's easier to upgrade to Second Edition from First Edition? And I think that kind of goes back to this whole idea of everything is super interconnected, right? Because of course the first impetus for the Second Edition was to do the classes, but the second we started doing that, we said, okay, how do you redesign these classes if a Prosperity 1 item is Cloak of Invisibility, not unnerfed stamina potions,
Yeah.
Flutes of Striding? There's just the items were so all over the place balance wise that there's no way you can design these classes to match Frosthaven standard without also changing the items. And of course, the items are unlocked by scenarios, right? The scenarios have chests and they give you the items, and everything is interconnected. The events give you items, the events unlock scenarios. So once you start changing one thing, you kind of have to change everything to make it all work.
Yeah. So that's what we did. I mean, and that goes back to like the previous question, right? I mean, you make this giant interconnected world instead of like these modules, and so I mean, that's kind of what you end up with if
Yeah.
you want to update something, is you kind of got to update everything. And at the end
All
of the
right.
day, I think that's again like that's the right way to go. Like, um, yeah, we gotta do what is the best service to the product itself, right? And that's updating everything. Um, yeah,
Pre-made
so my
scenarios for the
baby's
RPG.
back.
Isaac, are
What
there
was the
pre-made
question?
scenarios for the RPG, or do we need to supply our own stories?
So yeah, I mean the core book that you're getting will have one pre-made adventure in it. Ideally, like about a 20-hour session, or not 20-hour adventure that you'll probably run over multiple sessions. So yeah, and then again, like we want to be supporting this RPG going into the future, so that'll include um, more pre-made adventures as well. That's the plan, and so yeah, yeah, because at the end of the day, like the system, um, what can I say about the system? I mean, at least currently, like the feedback is that like, yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to it, especially for a GM, and so giving you that pre-made adventure to jump into, so you don't have to, read that book and then come up with an adventure yourself. Really allows you to jump into the system a lot easier.
Is
So
this
that's important.
the adventure that I playtested with you?
I don't know. So we haven't actually written it yet.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
that was my plan actually, was to do that adventure, but then
Hmm.
I decided that that's the adventure that I want to run for the sessions that we're doing with the old school campaign.
Okay.
That and so I don't know if you've noticed that yet or if you watched, but like,
I only watched the character creation stuff. I
oh,
didn't
okay.
actually see the
Yeah,
beginning of
it
the thing.
it starts. Yeah, it starts with Derek Winmere
I was gonna
losing
say
losing a
I saw
wagon.
the I
Yeah.
saw the thing, and I saw the Three Spears mini standing behind the counter, and I was like, this looks awfully familiar. And this went way off the rails when we did it. So
Yeah, so we're
I'm
we're gonna
curious where this
see
one
we're
goes.
gonna see where it goes this time. I have a little more experience in trying to keep it on the rails, but at the same time, like I'm
More
not gonna like
experience
force
and
anything.
more experience
I
in making
I
people
tried
not
to
go
make
totally
I tried to
crazy.
make Derek a little more lovable this time around,
Derek
but
did
I
not
don't
have a
know.
good
We'll
time in
see
our
how it
campaign.
goes.
uh, yeah,
But anyway,
I blame
but I
Zach
don't
for
know.
that.
So if that's the campaign I run for this, then I don't know. Maybe I should do something different for in the RPG. It's still we still have time to figure that out.
Will there be any differences between first and second printing of Frosthaven other than typos?
Uh, for Frosthaven, no, yeah, we're just gonna fix those typo issues, and that'll be that. But yeah, it is approaching 5, and I know that Dennis has to go before
I gotta
5.
leave in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah, last chance to get some. Oh nope, we got rid of Dennis. Dennis is gone. Goodbye, Dennis. Thanks for stopping by. I think that was a really awesome chat. Just about Gloomhaven 2.0, and yeah, I had a great time hanging out next to my fire, next to his fire, everyone's fire. It's all good, and and yeah, so I think that's a good place to end the chat. Yeah, we went a lot longer this time because Dennis had a lot more to say, which is great. Uh, I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I want you to have a great weekend. And I will see you again next to this fireplace on Tuesday for the next fireside chat. But then also, we've got tons of awesome streaming going over the weekend on into Monday, where you can see me again playing with Penny Arcade for the RPG. And so, yeah, with that, I think we'll end it there. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday night. TGIF.